We are conducting a 5-year rebuild of Manchester United to fix the mistakes that Erik ten Hag made as their head coach. But this rebuild will be looking to fix one mistake in particular. We want to make Antony the star player at Man United. The signing of Antony was arguably Erik ten Hag's worst and most expensive mistake as the Manchester United head coach. They signed Antony from Ajax for approximately £82 million, and rather than being one of their best signings, he's essentially just become one of the internet's best memes. And overall, he's just been very poor. He hasn't scored many goals, he hasn't got many assists. He just hasn't done well for Man United, and he's like their fourth string winger now. So in this video, we're going to make Antony the star player at Man United. We are going to spend 5 years as the Man United head coach, rebuilding the club with Antony as our star player. We're going to develop a team and a tactic that makes the most of Antony. And admittedly, this is probably more able to do in game than it is in real life. Antony's actually not that bad in Football Manager. He's not spectacular at anything, but he's not bad at anything. I mean, he's got good attributes for a winger: good dribbling, good first touch, okay pace, very good stamina, acceleration and balance are average. But overall, he's not a world-class winger by any means, but he's not a terrible player in Football Manager. So I think we can make something work here. And our overall goal is to obviously win trophies with Man United, but I want Antony getting double-digit goals, double-digit assists, and I would love for him to win a Ballon d'Or, but we need to be realistic in this save. So if he's able to get into the Premier League Team of the Season, win a Golden Boot, or be the top playmaker in the Premier League, we're going to consider that a successful season. But of course, along the way, we are going to have to meet the club vision of Man United, because obviously we can't get fired trying to make Antony one of the world's best players. So we are going to have to meet our objectives. In season 1, our objectives are going to be reach the latter stages of the Europa League, qualify for the Champions League through the Premier League, and reach the latter stages of the FA Cup. I think we can do all of that. But since it's season 1 using an updated database, we're not going to be able to reinvest in the squad. We are at the beginning of the season at this point. We had $1 million in transfer budget. We had a little bit of wage budget to spare. But it's season 1. You know, you don't have a big transfer budget. So at this point, we're purely doing a tactical rebuild, and our season 1 tactic is as such. Now, we are doing this as an Omega Luke style rebuild where we're going to simulate the seasons. We're going to do the tactics. We're going to do the transfers. Then we're going to sim the seasons and see how we do. And this is going to be our tactic for season 1. We're not uprooting any trees here. We're going with what you would expect this Manchester United side to do, and we're locking in Antony. But again, we are building this team around Antony. And to do so, we need to have a fairly attacking tactic to give Antony the most chances he can to be successful. So this means going into a positive tactic, playing out of the defense, trying to get in behind, playing a high tempo tactic. But most importantly, I think for us, we're counter pressing, we're playing a high line, and we're getting stuck in. So we're trying to win the ball high up the pitch so that Antony, as an inside forward on attack, can get in behind. Pretty much everyone else is playing a supporting role. We have a wingback on support, so he'll be overlapping Antony, hopefully giving Antony space to cut inside and score. The other winger on the other side is on support, so he's trying to get crosses in to Antony. So we're building things in season 1 around him. The other thing we're doing is we have this high press. So I'm taking a page out of Indonesia's Football Manager World Cup winners tactic, and we're going with tackle harder for all of our players. Supposedly this helps with the pressing, so our advanced forward is tackling harder, our wingers tackling harder, our midfielders are tackling harder. We have the full press going in to tackle. Everyone in this attacking 6 are tackling harder except Antony. We don't need Antony tackling harder. He's in the press, but I don't want him getting yellow carded. I don't want him wasting his energy on tackling harder. Instead, I want him to sit narrower. Sitting narrower is going to allow him to be more in the middle to get more goal scoring opportunities. He's going to be cutting inside with the ball because he's got his left foot on the right side. So we want him going in and shooting. And of course, we have shoot more often on in the hope that's going to allow him to score more goals. In addition to that, looking at our penalty takers, our only penalty taker is Antony. This is hopefully going to allow him to score more goals, and we are not allowing anyone else to take a pen. This is all Antony. So again, in season 1, this is what our tactic looks like. The only player we're locking in is Antony at this point. But if we do a little quick pick without restriction here, this is what the team looks like. The only difference here is Antony is injured at the moment. He pulled, I think, his knee ligament, so he's been out, but he will be back for the start of the season. But this is what the team selected by Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to look like at the start of the season. Overall, it's a solid side, but I do think we're going to do better in upcoming seasons. But this is what season 1 looks like with Antony locked into place. And this is what we've looked like so far in the preseason. Overall, pretty good. We played our second 11 here. Bruno Fernandes scoring, but Antony getting a goal against JDT of Malaysia. We did lose the Community Shield. Antony did play in the Community Shield match, but again, he was injured, but I wanted him to play. He dropped a massive 6.1 overall rating. If this is how this is going to go for the rest of the save, that would be very bad. But anyways, this is season 1. We are now going to simulate season 1 and see how we do. How will Man United do? But more importantly, how will Antony do? Let's see how this goes. And at the end of season 1, we've actually had a good season. Man United finishing in second place with 76 points. Overall, that is really solid. Looking at the club vision, everyone's happy so far. We have a B- for the club vision. We qualified for the Champions League. I don't know why it's at 50% at the moment. Maybe everything's come out here. But how have we done? We were knocked out in the Europa League quarterfinal by Leipzig. That's not great. Knocked out in the FA Cup quarterfinal to Man City. Carabao Cup knocked out in the third round by Coventry. That's really bad. And in the Community Shield, we finished runner-up. So no trophies this season. We haven't been able to win Antony any trophies. But the question is, how did he do? Did we get the most out of him from our tactic? And overall, looking at our players, it went well. 50 matches for Antony this season. 17 goals, 20 assists. He outperformed his XG and he had a 7.12 overall rating. That's not bad. In the Premier League, he had a really solid season. 14 goals, 14 assists in 35 matches with a 7.14 overall rating. That is very, very successful. Much more successful than I thought we were going to get from Antony at this point. And overall, his attributes are not looking too bad. Actually, at this point, he's looking like a really solid player. 3 stars as a winger now, or at least an inside forward. By the way, we have signed Antony to a new contract, so he is here for the full 5 seasons of this rebuild. But overall, season 1, I would say, was very successful, finishing second and Antony doing very well. Unfortunately, though, Antony was not the player of the year. That went to Erling Haaland. Surprisingly, Dominic Calvert-Lewin had 27 goals and was the top scorer. How is he not the player of the year? But Antony not involved in the top goal scorer award. But what about the team of the year? And we do have Antony featured in the team of the year. Season 1 was super successful. Antony in the team of the year, 14 goals, 14 assists in the league. Season 1, definitely a success, but we can build off of this. Looking at the squad here, we can definitely build a squad that will better suit Antony, I think. Given the success of the 4-3-3, I think we continue with it. I do think as we move forward, we'll want to make some changes to it to better suit Antony. I think we'll want to maybe make even a new formation. Antony can play all across these areas, but I wouldn't mind testing out Antony as a striker in a future season. But for now, I think we stick with the 4-3-3, stick with Antony here on the right. And let's move forward. I'm going to play through the off season here. Let's do season 2 and see where we go from there. All right, we have moved forward to the beginning of season 2, and I have decided to stick with the 4-3-3 formation, but we are rebuilding the side to better suit Antony. Let me show you what we've done in the transfer window. So first of all, we had some big sales. I don't know if my face is in the way, you might not be able to see that, but I got rid of a bunch of players who I didn't think were going to get game time. Casemiro, £20 million to Chelsea. Amad Diallo, £17 million to Ipswich. Terrell Malacia, £12 million to Newcastle. Harry Maguire left to Aston Villa. We also sold a host of youth players. Then we got a pretty big bid from PSG for Diogo Dalot for £40 million, so I was happy to let Diogo Dalot go. So overall, we were able to bring in quite a bit of money. We were able to bring in about £100 million in transfers, and that allowed us to sign some big names. I really focused on improving the defense because I wanted to be able to play that high line. So we splashed the cash. First up, we signed Benjamin Pavard from Inter for £80 million. And I think he is a great ball playing defender. I love his technicals, his mentals, but most importantly, I think he's well rounded physically. He can also play all across the back, but with the sale of Dalla, we really needed a right back. And I think Benjamin Pavard fits that wonderfully. Next up, Pau Torres signed for £60 million. Pau Torres is very good physically, if anything, underrated physically. 15 pace, great stamina, strength, and jumping reach, and a very good ball playing defender with heading, marking, passing, and tackling. I think Pau Torres is a great player, and I'm very excited to have him in. But the big signing that I'm really, really happy with is Theo Hernandez. I think he is a world-class left back, and with the high line that I want to play, that 18 pace is crucial because he can step up super high and he has the recovery pace to get back. So we were really focused on signing physically brilliant defenders, and I think we've done that. Then we also look to sign some players just for a bit of depth since we're in the Champions League. Weston McKennie comes in. I think overall he's a pretty solid backup player. He'll be kind of a ball or winning midfielder, box-to-box player. We also brought in Conrad Leimer. Again, we've brought him in on loan with the option to buy. I'm not planning on taking the option to buy, but he's just one of those players who I think can fill out the squad. And that leads us back into our 4-3-3 tactic. If we do a quick pick here, this is what the team looks like. Still very similar to last season, but I think what's in reality is going to happen is Pau Torres will probably come in for Lisandro Martinez. I think he's a little bit of a better player. I think Benjamin Pavard will probably come in for Masuari here. So I think it's going to end up looking more like this. And again, we're looking to play that high line. We're looking to get stuck in and step up more. So I think having players like Pavard, De Ligt, Torres, and Hernandez as a back line will allow us to do that. In the midfield, we'll have Ugarte, Mount, and Fernandes. I think that Kobe Mainu will come in as well. We'll also have Leimer and McKennie on the bench to help deputize. And then, of course, up top, Rashford, Højlund, and most importantly, Antony. The expectations for this season for us to remain in the job and continue helping Antony out are as such. We are, of course, in the Champions League after finishing second last season. The minimum expectation there is reach the quarterfinal. Hopefully we can do that. They also want us to reach the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. And then interestingly, though, in the Prem, we only need to qualify for the Europa League. So we might have a little bit of room. Not really worried about getting fired at this point since the expectation is just to get into the Europa League. But I think if we're looking for a Manchester United rebuild at this point, getting into the Champions League and Antony having another really good season would be awesome for season 2. So with that in mind, this is where we're at. Let's move forward. Let's simulate season 2 and see how we do. And at the end of season 2, we've done about the same as we did last season. Last season, we finished on 76 points, and we've once again got 76 points. This time it was only enough to finish in third place. But I mean, 76 points, third place with this team, once again getting into the Champions League. I'm okay with that. We pretty much hit the minimum expectation for most things. We qualified for the Champions League. We qualified for the quarterfinals. We were knocked out by PSG. Knocked out in the 5th round by Brighton, though. Maybe that's not the best thing in the world. And then in the Carabao Cup, we were knocked out in the semi-final. This was our schedule. Actually, a really good start to the season. We beat Fulham, Antony scoring on a pen. We beat Everton, Antony getting 2 goals there. He had a great start to the season. We beat Arsenal 1-0 away from home, and then we beat Man City at home, but then a really disappointing loss to Norwich. At least Antony scored there. But then we had a really good start to the season. Look at October, brilliant. November, brilliant. December, really good. But that loss to Brentford and Everton certainly hurt. But it seems like towards the end of the season, maybe our squad depth wasn't so good. A really, really poor February and a really poor April down here. So it looks like that's where we were really hurt. Definitely those 2 losses to PSG, not scoring a goal. That shows we're a little bit off quality wise there. But in season 2, this is pretty good. I think we can improve on this. The big question is, how did our players do? And in 49 matches, Antony was not our best player. 17 goals and only 12 assists. Not at a 6.99 overall rating. I'm actually a little bit disappointed with that. I think we really want Antony to be doing a little bit better at this point. And I don't know, I would say overall, maybe he was a little bit worse than last year, 7.09 average rating, but despite that hot start, he had 15 goals and just 8 assists. So overall, his goal contributions were lower than last season. I think looking at the tactic here, we need to find a way, if we want Antony to be truly a star player in this side, I need to change the formation and consider moving Antony to a different role. And looking at his attribute, I mean, he's got 16 dribbling, good first touch, okay finishing, and good pace. Wish his off the ball was a little bit better. But I want to consider moving Antony to this position. I think in reality, if we want to get the best of him, we need to move him from here and into here. But I don't know if he's ready to be a lone striker. I need to think about this tactically. Once again, Erling Haaland was the player of the year. That did not go to Antony. Antony also wasn't involved in the top 3 places to be the top goal scorer. And was he at least in the team of the year? And no Antony in the team of the year. This season, we did good with the squad, but we did bad with Antony. Some wholesale changes are going into effect. Let's move forward to season 3, but I need to make some changes here. Moving into season 3, I have made some huge changes because we needed it. You're going to notice here, I'm back a little bit later. We're not just at the beginning of the season, but we're at the end of the transfer window in September. So we have played some league matches. And the reason for that is because I've made a lot of transfers. But biggest change, we're moving to the more meta 4-2-4 formation. This is a super attacking formation that gets a ton of goals. And what I'm hoping is we're moving Antony up top now. I want to see this man get goals. I'm expecting a little bit of a down season, but I think this will, we have season 3, season 4, and season 5. I think for season 4 and season 5, we're going to get the most out of Antony here. We are going with a little bit of a more direct style, which should suit Antony getting in behind. We are, of course, countering and counter pressing, and we're playing a super high defensive line again. So we've got players with pace here. We've got Antony getting in behind. He is, of course, locked into that forward position. So what we're doing is we are trying to improve him as a forward now. He's learning a new position, so attributes aren't great. If we look at his development, I'm now training him as an advanced forward. I'm also training him to have better penalty taking. Unfortunately, it looks like that might have taken a hit to his current ability, but I think playing him up top is going to be better in the long run. We're trying to get the most goals and assists out of Antony here. I think this is the right move in the long run. But we have also looked to improve the squad massively, and we have made some big signings. But first, let's talk about sales. We've gotten rid of some big players. Victor Lindelof, we've let go on a free. That is good for our wage budget. Christian Eriksen's gone on a free. That's good for our wage budget as well. But some big sales. Joshua Zirkzee, we've let him go. £36 million. That's going to be used to raise some money. Altay Bayindir wasn't playing a whole lot as a backup keeper. We've sold him for £15 million so that we can get some money there. And of course, more big sales. $100 million. I've decided to get rid of Pau Torres. Despite him being such a good player, we got £100 million for him from Al Ali, and that allowed us to make some huge investments. In the end, when you get £100 million for someone, you take it. I also got rid of Nusar Masarari, a player who in real life I actually really like and think he's really good, but he's getting up there in age. We got £20 million for him. We got £8 million for Lenny Yoro, who I just don't think in our 5 seasons is going to be able to contribute. So we got rid of him as well. But overall, we were able to spend or bring in a lot of money so that we could spend a lot of money. And we have made some great signings. First and foremost, one of the best playmakers in the game, someone who can feed Antony, the forward, get him in behind, make those killer through balls, a player who tries killer through balls often. We've brought in Florian Wirtz, an absolutely world-class signing. We've brought him in for £91 million. I've also made a big focus on shoring up our back line, especially that high line. So we've brought in Destiny Udogi. He's going to essentially be backing up Teo Hernandez, but 17 pace and brilliant acceleration and agility and great stamina. I couldn't pass up a player that was that quick. We've brought in Bart Verbruggen. He is a Dutch goalkeeper. We just needed a backup goalkeeper, so we signed him. We've brought in Lorenzo Pirola, who I think is a really good young center back. Excellent physical attributes. Again, that's really good for the high line. I've also brought in Victor Boniface because the sale of Joshua Zirkzee means we needed another goalkeeper. Another striker, excuse me. We brought him in for £80 million. He's had a good start to the season. Overall, I think he's solid, but he's not so good that he should take away too many goals from Antony. So I think he's kind of the right player to bring in to help out Antony. On a free transfer to bring in some depth for our defensive positions, I've really focused on shoring up the defense so that we win the ball back more often and help Antony get more chances. We brought in Mary Demiral. He, again, just solid pace, solid strength, a player that you can play a high line with very comfortably. And finally, another player to help shore up the midfield, Federico Valverde, another player who is physically brilliant. So as we move to the 4-2-4 formation, he's going to be the perfect box-to-box midfielder. Overall, I gotta say, I think this was a really good transfer window. I think we brought in some wonderful players. So if we do a quick pick here with Ruud van Nistelrooy, of course, we're locking in Antony here. So we're probably going to have another player there, which will be someone like Florian Wirtz. But this is probably what the team looks like. We have some players traveling on international duty at the moment. So in reality, I think it's going to be Valverde, Fernandez, Florian Wirtz, Garnacho. We'll have Antony up top. I'm sure that Victor Boniface will play in this position as well. And then here, we'll probably have Teo Hernandez and Udogi. They're going to be rotating in that left back position. I actually think it's going to be Matthias de Ligt here. But this is probably what the team looks like. I got to say, I think this is a really good team. And this is a team that should be challenging for the title. Will the tactic allow us to do so? Will Antony score enough goals to allow us to do so? That remains to be seen. But I'm expecting big things here. And early on, we have done pretty well. We beat Arsenal 2-0 away from home. We beat Leeds 2-0 at home, and we beat Everton 1-0 away from home, with Antony scoring in the 69th minute. Nice. So 3 games into the season, into the 3rd season, we are top of the table. Let's sim forward to the end of season 3 and see how we did. Well, that's disappointing. We've actually done worse than we did in previous seasons. 68 points. We finished in 4th place. But, man, look at those goals for. We were the best scorers in the league. We just were not good defensively. We had a poor defense, but a great offense. I think there's something here, but we haven't done well this season. Looking at our schedule, we had that bright start to the season. We beat Fulham 7-0 and Antony didn't score. But then just a mixed bag throughout the rest of the season here. We did get through 6-0 win in the Champions League knockout stage, but then we lost in the round of 16 to Liverpool. That is not what you like to see. Did Antony not play? Why did Victor? He must have been subbed out because Victor Boniface took the pen. Antony is still the pen taker. But, oh! We won the FA Cup final. We got a trophy. And Antony scored. Let's go. And there it is. So despite a disappointing season in the league and Champions League, we won the FA Cup. We have our first trophy of the save in what was a tightly contested affair. But more importantly, in the FA Cup final, Antony came up big and he scored in the 5th minute. This is what we wanted to see in this rebuild. And actually, Antony had not a bad season. 16 goals and 18 assists. We'll actually kind of take that, looking at his career stats, but only 9 goals in the league, but he had 12 assists. I don't know what to think of this. Because, again, this was his first season playing up top. So, overall, I'm actually not unhappy with how this season has gone. We won a trophy. Antony scored in the final. He got 16 goals and 18 assists overall. However, we were a little disappointing. We're still on the B minus. So we're not in danger of being sacked or anything. We got a trophy. Antony's playing all right. I think we have something to build off here as we move towards season 4. All right, moving into season 4, I've decided to keep the tactic the same. I think it got a lot of goals last year, and if we're able to improve our defensive line, I think we'll be good, and we can improve our midfield as well, as far as getting players who are very physical in the midfield. And I think all of this will eventually help out Antony. He's also got a year under his belt playing in the forward position. He's much better in the advanced forward role now. We don't see those downward facing arrows. So it means that if we look at his development, I think that means the training is working. Hopefully his penalty taking will improve. And so far, we didn't do so good last season. We have played a couple of matches this season. The expectations for this year are somewhat high from the club. We do need to reach the latter stages of the Champions League, qualify for the Champions League, and be competitive in other competitions. So to do that, we have made some big signings. Looking at our transfer history, we've made some big sales. We'll start off with that, I suppose. So looking at the ones most recently, we did get rid of Luke Shaw, but looking at some of the sales that we've made this season, so Luke Shaw is out on loan. I did this mostly to get rid of that wage to allow us to bring in a couple of extra players. But most of the money going out has come from selling Lisandro Martinez. We've sold him for £50 million. I think for a player who's going on 30 years old, that was good to bring in. We've also sold Weston McKennie. He was a backup player. We got rid of his wage so we can bring in some better players. We got rid of Mary DeMero. He went to Real Madrid, which I thought was really surprising. Even though he's a really good center back, we signed him for free and got £40 million of pure profit on him. So that was huge for our transfer budget. And finally, Benjamin Pavard, now 31 years old. Physicals maybe not as good as they once were. We got £75 million from Al Nassr. And that is huge because it allows us to make some big signings. Our first big signing of the transfer window, I thought that Antony needed a better striking partner. Who better to bring in than Mr. Benjamin Sesko? He is phenomenal, a physical phenomenon. 17 acceleration, 17 pace, and 18 jumping reach. And I think this is really good because it allows us to stretch opposing back lines a bit more. And he's kind of what Antony isn't. Antony isn't physically brilliant, but Antony's technically brilliant. So Sesko has the jumping reach, the heading, and the pace to get in behind. So if we're looking to get the most out of Antony, a Sesko-Antony up top pair, I think will be really good. Because if we go back, let's just look at Antony real quick. He's kind of a better playmaker than he is a goal scorer. But he's also got good pace and stuff, but he's technically good dribbling, okay crossing, and okay passing. So what I'm hoping is that Antony's pretty decent technicals will work well with Benjamin Sesko's physical attributes to create a really devastating pair up top that will take advantage of Antony's goal-scoring exploits, but most importantly, his playmaking exploits. The other players we've brought in have essentially been just to shore up the back line. I think Eder Militao in the game is one of the best center backs in the world, notably because of those physical attributes, great jumping reach, pace, stamina, strength, acceleration, agility, etc. As a center back, he's again going to allow us to play a really high line, and he'll be excellent physically to be able to deal with that. Going forward too, Michael Coyote, we were missing a right back. Coyote is a good young right back, again, with excellent physical attributes, which will work really well with our high line. I've also brought in Giorgio Scalvini, one of the best young center backs in the world, another player with pretty good physicals, so I think he'll be excellent. And finally, we brought in Michael Olise because I needed an English player, and he's the type of player who can put balls into Antony and Sesko, excellent dribbling and crossing, even if he's not the best physical player. He'll probably be a backup, but I think he's one of those players who will back up well. So if I do a quick pick here, it obviously won't look exactly like this, but this is what the squad is looking like right now. Sesko, I didn't realize actually, is currently injured. He's out for 3 weeks, but when we have our best squad, we'll have something that looks like this. Florian Wirtz will play in the winger position here. I think we'll have Fernandes here. Maybe we'll bring in Elise into this position. We'll have Federico Valverde here. We, of course, still have Marcus Rashford, so Rashford and Wirtz could even play in these roles. But look at how good that front line is. That is an excellent front line. And then when we look at players in defense, we still have Theo Hernandez's pace. I really like Matthias de Ligt, but we have Scalvini and Perola who can play there. We still have Destiny Udogi who can play here. Coyote can play here, and Militao can play in the center back position. So now I think we're starting to see a team that is really well rounded. And if we look at our bench, we still have someone like Manuel Ugarte who can play in the midfield, who's absolutely brilliant. We have Jadon Sancho, who was not signed by Chelsea, so he can back up the winger positions. We have Michael Olise. Victor Boniface is still a player that we have who can back up Sesko and Antony. We still, of course, have Rasmus Højlund, who I don't really think has developed very well. But now we have a team that I think can compete on all fronts, which I think is really important. If we look at our schedule, we're going to have a lot of games. We have done well so far. We won the Community Shield. Florian Wirtz, Jadon Sancho scoring against Chelsea. Unfortunately, Antony not really doing well this game. He dropped a 6.5 overall rating. We won't talk about that right now. But we won the Community Shield. We won a home match against Leeds 3-0. Antony dropping a 6.7. Man, he's had a bad start to the season. But looking at the Prem, not a bad start. We're in the top 7 positions, 1 win from 1. This is season 4. We have just 2 seasons left. But I think this is a team that Antony can thrive in and that we can win some trophies with. Let's simulate season 4. And at the end of season 4, we were so close to winning the title. We were so good. We only lost 3 matches all season to City, Liverpool, and Arsenal won the league. But what a season! 27 wins, 8 draws, 3 losses, 102 goals, and only 38 allowed. I think we are absolutely on the right track here. How did we do in everything else? We finished second in the Prem. We were knocked out in the round of 16 by Bayern Munich. That's tough. Knocked out in the 5th round by City, but we won the Community Shield and we won the Carabao Cup. So we have 2 trophies during this rebuild, the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. Actually, at this point, is that good? We've literally just done what Erik ten Hag did. Looking at our schedule, we had a great start to the season. 4-3 to Real Madrid with how good Real Madrid is. We'll take that. I think we were doing really well. A bit of a rough November, though. That loss to Liverpool, definitely a big one here. And we were winning against Bayern. Antony even scored. We had a red card in the 6th minute and won 3-1, but then we lost 4-0 away with Coyote getting a red in the 24th minute. That definitely put us away. But this, looking at our schedule, we had a brilliant season. Carabao Cup 3-0 over Spurs. That's a great result. Unfortunately, Antony dropped a 6.7 overall rating though and didn't score. But he did start. I mean, we have two trophies more for Antony. It's the same two trophies that he's won with Ten Hag, unfortunately. So at this point, I'm not sure if we've done better than Ten Hag in our rebuild. But we have one more season left, and I think we go all out for season 5. And looking at our overall, Antony, the most goals and the most assists, that is what I call making Antony our star player. This was absolutely his best season yet. 19 goals, 12 assists, 7.23 overall rating. I knew it. I knew that improving the front line and moving Antony to a forward position was the right move, and it has absolutely paid off. This is his best goals and assist contributions. Unfortunately, though, Erling Haaland scored 37 goals. But Antony, with his 19 goals, finishing as the second top scorer in the Prem. This is exactly what, surely he was in the team of the year, right? No, he wasn't in the team of the year. Benjamin Sesko, who had less goals, made the team of the year. I feel like Antony's been robbed in game a little bit here. Antony should have been in this, but I will take finishing second top scorer. This is undoubtedly our best season yet because we've gotten the most out of Antony. We finished second in the league and we won the Carabao Cup. That being said, though, I want more, and I think we can get more. We have one season left in this rebuild. Looking at our finances here, we have a measly 30 million to spend. Sure, we're gonna have to finesse this, but moving into season 5, we gotta win the Prem. We gotta win Antony something more. We gotta do better than Ten Hag did. Let's go to season 5. All right, this is it, the final season of this rebuild, and we are treating it as such. We are past the transfer window because I've made some huge signings, huge moves. So, of course, we start off with the sales, and there were a lot of them. The biggest sale is Florian Wirtz. And I think Florian Wirtz is a world-class player, but he kind of wanted to leave. We didn't do well enough in the Champions League, so he wanted to go. But PSG spent £175 million. We only had 30 million to spend originally. £175 million gave us so much flexibility to do whatever we wanted with. So we had to sell them. But those weren't even the only sales we had. I was looking to bring in big money. We also sold Luke Shaw for 10 million to Sevilla. We just needed to get rid of him. Bart Verbruggen, he was a backup goalkeeper. We got 15 million pounds for him. I was pretty happy with that. Mason Mount wasn't playing a whole lot. We've got Bruno Fernandes and Federico Valverde, so we didn't really need Mason Mount. 45 million from Saudi Arabia for him. We'll take that. Rasmus Højlund, of course, we're locking in Antony up top, so we didn't need as many forwards. So we got rid of Højlund. We sold him for about 20 million pounds. A bit of a loss there. Another big one, Victor Boniface. We sold him to PSG for 60 million pounds. I mean, we're bringing in all kinds of money here. The other ones, Michael Olise wasn't really playing a whole lot, so he wanted to go out on loan. So we were able to reduce the wage bill and get a little bit money on a loan for him. Eder Militao was also interested in leaving. Unfortunately, he's brilliant. I really wanted to keep him around, but we get 1.3 million on a loan. We also, looking at his contract details, we get a lot of money off from the contract. So that helped us to bring in some really huge signings. And when I talk huge signings, some of these are world class. The big one, 40 million pounds in, Gianluigi Donnarumma. What a signing. I think in game, he's like one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Of course, we had Andre Onana, but when you compare Andre Onana and Gianluigi Donnarumma, it's clear. Donnarumma is the better player. He's physically phenomenal. He's not eccentric, not as good as a first touch, but overall, better reflexes, better handling, better one-on-ones, better aerial ability. Overall, he is just a better shot stopper. I think he's a world-class goalkeeper. But around that, we're making big signings. This is a world-class team now. Evan Ferguson has come in, a player in a similar mold to Benjamin Sesko. And again, we don't need to worry about playing time for Antony because we're locking him up top. But I wanted depth. So when we sold Rasmus Højlund and we sold Victor Boniface, there was nobody else to bring in but Evan Ferguson. He is in the same mold as Benjamin Sesko, so I think he'll be brilliant. We've also brought in a regen, Clemens Heiberg, who I think is just a really good winger. He can play on both sides. He has great dribbling and finishing and really great physical, so I think he'll supply some brilliant stuff to Antony. Speaking of world-class players, we brought in Rodrigo. For some reason, he was transfer listed at Real Madrid. He is one of the world's best players. He can play AML, AMR. We have a world-class player that we're bringing in. To shore up the midfield, I've brought in Leon Goretzka. He's just going to be a backup. We got him for kind of cheap, but he's still pretty good. Good stamina, good passing. So I just like what he brings in. We've also brought in Jack Hinchelwood. We needed an English player, so we've signed Jack Hinchelwood to help with the English quota. But finally, two world-class players. Starting off, Kavici Kvaratskhelia, a world-class winger. We are surrounding Antony with some of the world's best players so that he can have all the support he needs to be brilliant. He is going to play AML. He was available. He wanted to come to the club. We spent a ridiculous amount of money on him. But when we sold Florian Wirtz, I wanted to make sure we brought in a world-class winger. Kavica Kvaratskhelia is that player. I mean, look at that dribbling. Look at that first touch. He is brilliant. And then, of course, we sent out on loan Eder Militao. So I brought in Malik Thiaw. And again, I think he's probably better than his attributes indicate. But I like his physical attributes. We needed another center back, so we spent probably too much money to bring him in. For this final season, we're sticking with the 4-2-4. And I gotta say, if we do a little quick pick here, this team is absolutely world class. Of course, the only difference here is that Antony comes in here and Sesko probably goes in for Evan Ferguson here. But they have that great relationship with each other. But I mean, look at those star ratings. This team is amazing. And this doesn't even, this is the team right now with Teo Hernandez, Thiaw, Scalvini, and Coyote here. By the way, Coyote, physically phenomenal still. But Donnarumma in goal, Fernandes and Hinchelwood, Rashford, Rodrigo, Antony, Sesko. This is a great team. This is a team that can win the league. And this doesn't even take into account that Andre Onana is now the best backup goalkeeper in the league. We still have someone like Matthijs de Ligt, who can come in and play in that center back position. We have young Heshberg, who could play in this position. Kvaratskhelia, who could play here. Udogi, who could play here. Valverde, who I think is better than Hinchelwood, who can play in that position. Evan Ferguson can come in here. Lorenzo Parola can come in here. Ugarte can come in here. And we still have Leon Goretzka. We still have Mainu. We still have Sancho. And we still have Garnacho. This is an incredible team with incredible squad depth. This is a team that can compete on all fronts. This is a team that when we look at our competitions, all we need to do is qualify for the Champions League and reach the quarterfinal, but we can absolutely compete in the Prem, in the Champions League, and the FA Cup, and in the Carabao Cup. And let me tell you, the beginning of this season has been brilliant. We beat Liverpool 3-1 at home, a team we lost to last season. Antony, unfortunately, getting a 6.6 rating, but let's not talk about that. But he scored 2 goals in a 5-1 victory over Crystal Palace. He scored again in a 3-2 win over Bournemouth. And then he scored again in a 3-2 win over Brentford. So overall, things are going really well in the Prem. We've also advanced in the Carabao Cup. And when we look at the Prem right now, we are in first place, 4 wins from 4, a wonderful 14-goal total. Again, allowed goals, not so great, but hopefully our great attacking will cancel all that out. But this is season 5. This is the final season of this save. Let's simulate forward, and let's hope that we can bring Antony all of the titles. And at the conclusion of season 5, we are the Premier League champions. 33 wins. What a season. 2 draws and just the 3 losses to Leeds, Newcastle, and Leicester. Interesting 3 losses. But we have had a brilliant season. 101 points. Is that a Premier League record? And looking through most points in a season, that is the Premier League record. So we have set a Premier League record for most points and most wins in a season. What a brilliant performance from us. This is exactly what we wanted. And looking at our competitions, we were so good. We won the Prem. We were runners up in the Champions League. We made the Champions League final. We could have won the quadruple. We did get a domestic treble. We won the FA Cup and we won the Carabao Cup. But we were so close to one of the greatest seasons of all time. Looking at the schedule, we actually came back and immediately lost to Leicester and Arsenal after we left. But what a season otherwise. Just winning every game in October, losing to Newcastle in December, but we were still brilliant. 7-0 in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal. As we kept going through here, and then we lost to Leeds and we didn't lose again until the Champions League final. But we beat Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup semi-final, and that took us to the Carabao Cup final, where, if I can find it, we beat Chelsea on pens. Unfortunately, Antony dropped a 6.6 in the Carabao Cup final, but he still had an FA Cup final. And looking at the FA Cup final, we beat Brentford 3-1, and Antony did not score, but he got a 7.7 overall rating, so we'll absolutely take that. And then we lost to Barcelona. Michael Coyote! Why does he keep getting red carded in the Champions League? Oh, we lost in the Champions League final. Antony dropped a 6.5 overall rating. That's so disappointing. Oh, they just didn't play well. We were so close to the quadruple. Barcelona actually dominated the match. Looking at our Champions League run, though, I mean, we were brilliant. 4-1, 11-0 Antony scoring. Leipzig, 6-3 there. Antony getting on the score sheet. 1-0 over Antwerp. Then we got Napoli in the round of 16, where Antony didn't score. Then we had Bayern. Antony didn't score. Then we had Man City. Antony didn't score. And then we had Barcelona where Antony didn't score. Ah, man, we didn't get the most out of Antony in our Champions League run, apparently. But looking at our season, first of all, Benjamin Sesko with 48 goals, Evan Ferguson with 36 goals, and Kvaratskhelia with 23 goals and 17 assists. But when we're talking about star players, Antony, 23 goals and 33 assists. I would say when we're talking about making Antony a star player, I think we have absolutely been successful. He had 56 goal contributions in 63 matches. What a player! He's been brilliant. Looking at his career stats, 18 goals and 20 assists in the Premier League. I will absolutely take that. This is his best season. This is the best season we've had with Antony. I think this has been a successful rebuild. We've won the league with Man United. We unfortunately only made the Champions League final. But we won the FA Cup twice. We won the Carabao Cup twice. And we absolutely got the most from Antony. And looking at the player overview, Antony was the 4th top scorer in the league, and he was the top assister in the league. This is exactly what we were looking for. We got him to be the best at something in the Prem. Looking at the award winners, did he win anything though? Player of the year? Man, Erling Haaland. Why does Erling Haaland gotta go ruin everything? Of course, he wasn't the top goal scorer. Was at least in the team of the year. He wasn't in the team of the year. I wonder if he wasn't in the team of the year because he was playing forward, but his best position is actually out wide. Maybe I ruined that for him. But overall, I think we got the most out of Antony. Well, there it is. We did a 5-season rebuild. to rebuild Man United while getting the most out of Antony. We switched his position, and overall, I think we did pretty well. We had a good start. Things got a little bit rough as we changed his position, but with 18 league goals, 20 assists, he's won, and looking at those milestones, he won the domestic treble, he won a Prem, he won 2 Carabao Cups, he won 2 FA Cups, he won 2 Community Shields. Overall, I would say he's done really well. He's even broke the United record for assists, broke the Carabao Cup record for assists. He broke the English Premier Division record for assists in a season. What a season it is. And overall, I'll let you guys see this, but Carabao Cup, FA Cup runners up, Community Shield runners up, then FA Cup winner, Community Shield, Carabao Cup, and in the last season, the domestic treble. We have absolutely gotten the best out of Antony. I will leave his biography here for you all to read. But this is everything I've got for this rebuild. I hope you've enjoyed this rebuild. Let me know if you'd like me to do kind of more rebuilds in this fashion. But as always, thank you all for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you all are taking care of yourselves, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.